Welcome to the Central Prairie Co-op podcast, your go-to source for all things agriculture. Each week, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and real stories from the fields. Whether you're a seasoned producer or joining us for the first time, there's something here for you. So grab a coffee and let's dive into the business of agriculture from the ground up.
Welcome to the Central Prairie Co-op podcast. Today, Mike Corbus, our CEO, is going to provide us some updates from across the Central Prairie Co-op footprint. Mike.
Hey, thanks, Mandy. I'm going to move through this fairly quickly. I hope there's a number of things I wanted to address and just get out there in front of our membership. Let me start with Geneseo location. So I guess there's been some talk out there that it was not going to be open for fall crop. That is absolutely not true. The plan is to have that open to accept fall crops just like our other elevators. We have a lot of grain out there. It's very clear to see that. And, we had a pretty good wheat harvest as well. So the plan, as normal, is that we're going to be trucking grain out of these elevators to make room. We already have been. But that's grain that's sold, wheat in particular that's sold, so that will continue. Now, obviously, I can't guarantee that we won't have elevators fill up because, again, we don't know how large, but it sure looks like the crop is large, and all the other entities around us have also seen the same kind of thing. So, with that, then I guess the question would be, what are we doing to prepare for fall harvest bushels and future harvests? So, as I mentioned, we've been vigorously trucking grain out, and it's kind of an interesting juggle because you'll have sales on, and we pull from one location. Sometimes we have to stop for a bit and then come back again. It all depends on the traffic flow at the entities that we sell to. So, we'll see a lot of that continuing. Another thing is, I don't know, probably not a lot of people are actually familiar with this, but we are going to build a ground pile. Actually, we are building it as I speak, and this will be at Frederick along K4. Our plan is to put milo in that ground pile. So this is a 1 million bushel ground pile. So we've known there's a shortage up there of storage, and again, I think we're looking at a pretty large crop. And so this is something we've wanted to do for quite some time. One nice feature is that it's a Lamar conveyor that we're going to use, and this will be aerated in walls, etc., is that runs at about 15,000 bushels an hour. So if you compare that to what Frederick runs at today, which is probably half that speed, if that. So that really fits in nicely in our ability to help the producer get in and out faster. Don't really have to navigate your way around some of the older structures that we have. So as that's going in, we're also completing the probe at that location. So until recently, that's always been hand probe. So that's also, we hope, going to speed things up and help our producers out. So this is a first for Central Prairie Co-op. We're very fortunate. We've got a number of employees that have pretty good experience with these, but hopefully everything goes smoothly. But with anything new, it's not uncommon to have some hiccups. So I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody prematurely for your patience. We hope it all goes well. Another thing about that is that the traffic flow, it's a little bit unusual. I'll just say that this year. And so there will be maps made out, and I know the staff is going to call all the area producers, probably going to have maybe a hamburger cookout or something like that to invite people over, take a look at it, and get to see what the traffic flow is. Just know this in advance, that the traffic flow is designed the way it is because we intend potentially to do another one of these, maybe next year, and we don't want to have to tear up what we've already done. So just trying to be a little bit more innovative, I guess, in that way and think farther ahead. Another thing I want to jump to, we sent out a letter regarding seed cleaning, and then also should be this week about the time you're hearing this podcast. We also have a letter that has gone out in the statements to address a few things, so I'll cover that here. First, with the seed cleaning, this concerns only up along K4. We've had some struggles in that with the equipment being very old, and in fact, we've got some pieces of equipment where there really isn't even any replacement parts anymore. And so it's been an issue. We've looked for a solution, and I think we've found one. So it'll be a change, but the plan is we have contracted for a mobile seed cleaner and conditioner to be set up at the Bushton elevator location. There's a nice patch of ground out there on the north portion of the elevator complex, and I believe the dates are August 11th through the 15th or August 18th through the 22nd. The cleaner will then come back in September, and I think those are the 8th through the 15th or one of those dates. Best thing I would ask people to do is to go ahead and call the Bushton Agronomy location, and that number is 620-562-3614. Go ahead and call in advance. The sooner the better, and get on the schedule. That would be wonderful. I think this is going to go a lot smoother, but this also means that we will not have seed cleaning at Claflin, and we will not have it at Bushton. It's more centralized now. But, like I said, we've had struggles with reliability, breakdowns, things like that, and the goal here is just to avoid that altogether. So be aware of that. And let's see, moving down my list. Saxman and Whiteside. So we did sell those elevators. It's been mentioned before that they really were not a logistical fit for our grain movements anymore. We had already, in fact, mothballed Saxman, so they were sold. We did retain Pollard. Not sure everybody is aware of that, but we felt that Pollard is still a strategic location, not something we will necessarily use all of the time every harvest, but there are times when we could see using that. We did, in fact, use it for this wheat harvest, so I think we filled it about 75% full. But this goes back to something we're trying to do, part of our vision in the ground pile that I mentioned earlier. We know we needed that for storage. We know that we want to increase the speed for our producers. But one of the biggest issues that we've had on the grain side is transfers. So I want to talk about that a little bit. What we've done in the past that is no longer feasible, we would just move wheat from one elevator as it fills up to another one of our elevators. Well, then that elevator fills up. The problem is also that once you do that, we are incurring a cost there, a pretty substantial cost. And quite often, we end up finding out that we've moved the grain farther away from where the market is, where we'd eventually sell it, so that adds to that cost as well. So definitely not a very good scenario. But think about it this way. When companies who own terminals, for example, truck grain to their terminals, they are effectively hauling to the market, which generates revenue for them. So you'll see terminals pull from elevators to take it to the terminal itself, because that's essentially going to push it out to the end market. When we, as a co-op, transfer from one elevator to another, it's only an additional expense. So we're not trucking to a market. In fact, we're trucking it farther from its intended market, which results in further loss. So that is something that is absolutely untenable. We cannot continue to do that. So what our goal is, again, is to look at other options like ground piles. Ground piles have been used throughout Kansas for years for good effect and good reason. They are substantially, I'd underline that, substantially cheaper than concrete or other methods of storage. So that is a direction we would like to go. I also want to talk about the Little River elevator and the Purefield ingredient deal. So that was also something we did when we look at our future strategy. One of our mandates is that we are here to serve the producers, obviously, and try to find ways to increase value. So it probably was not the smoothest rollout, I'll give you that, and I apologize for any inconveniences that caused, but we worked on that for a lot of months, the two entities, they and us, and a lot of work went into that, and then it just came together at the 11th hour. And it was my call on our end to go forth with it. I know they wanted to as well. Therefore, we didn't quite have our ducks in a row as we might have liked to have done it, but the option is to wait another year, or maybe it didn't happen at all. And we felt very strongly that this brought enough value to the producer that it just needed to happen. And so there was a pretty good financial benefit for those that brought in some cases. And, that will vary by year, I suppose, and quality of grain, but it doesn't really require the producer to change any practices or use any special varieties of wheat. So I think it's a good thing. And we'd like to see where this goes, part of our program. Another thing I want to talk about is the National Sorghum Producers Partnership. So that's something probably most of you have not heard of. It's new, and it's a $65 million grant that allows producers the opportunity to see some financial gain, and they do not have to, like many other programs, change a practice. It's not a lot of hoops to jump through. It's pretty simple. But we are the first and only cooperative in Kansas to bring this to the producers, to be a partner with them. So I'm very proud of that. Dalton Conan went out and did a lot of work behind this. Jason Dale and our merchandising group also had a lot to do with this. We intend to continue this. I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but just say this, that we will probably have a meeting when fall harvest is over and invite anyone that's welcome, or anyone's welcome that wants to learn more about this. Please watch for that. We'll make sure we let everyone know on social media, perhaps even a letter. And I think it'd be worth your while to check it out if you grow sorghum at all. So we'll be in that again next year. And then lastly, I just kind of want to recap the overall vision we have for our grain business. We certainly have plans for our other groups as well, but today I just wanted to talk about the grain side since we are in that harvest season. The main thing we're looking to hit 3 points here is what our future looks like in grain. We intend to increase speed and reliability for our producers. At select locations, we simply cannot do this at all of our elevators. As we all know, they're getting older. The cost to repair and update these is exorbitant. So we need to be strategic and focus on the locations that we can exploit, if I can use that term the most, to get the most return for producers. We have to absolutely make drastic reductions in the transfers that we've done. So to that end, the ground pile is one step to do that. Again, that's just not something we can maintain. The other thing is to continue to develop new markets which will benefit our members. So again, I'll go back to the Pure Field Ingredients deal. That's one good example. We are looking at doing things like that with the goal of increasing profitability for our members and also the grain flow in the area. So a lot of things going on very quickly. We feel it's very necessary to take these steps. I'm always available if people have questions or wonder why we do certain things or what we're doing. I'm happy to answer those questions. Please always feel free to reach out. But look for a letter in the statements. Should be getting it. I don't know. This will probably air Tuesday or Wednesday, and statements ought to hit midweek to late week. So look for those and read the letter. And if there's any questions, let us know. That's all I have, Mandy.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And thank you for joining us today for the Central Prairie Co-op podcast, where we talk all things ag from the ground up.